The man who knows how to cut a rug, Matthew Dickerson. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How you going,
Well,
Bret?
thank you. How was your dance?
Well, if you were an external professional dance observer, you would say it was average at best.
Average?
Average at best.
Well, no.
I don't lay any great claims to be a great dancer,
Okay.
but the night I think was a big success. $65,000. Anytime you raise
Wow.
$65,000 for anything, and this
Yeah.
is for cancer research, so that's fantastic. The Cancer Council did a great job. Cassandra, who's based in Orange, was the main organiser from the Cancer Council, did a great job. But the other 7 stars, I think did a great job. It was actually a really entertaining night. So
Yeah.
I had a table of people that I invited along to come along and sit with me and support me, if you want to call it that. So be there and observe. And they said at the end of the night, that was actually really entertaining. So it was really good.
You love social media. Have you put yours on social media? I want to watch it.
I have put my
Have you?
dance on
I
social
should have
media.
watched before going into this because I
That's
wouldn't
right.
have mentioned it otherwise. No, just
So
joking.
it is there, and again, I'm not putting it there because I'm saying this is a great example of my dancing ability, but I think it's okay for people to watch that, and it's okay not to be fantastically brilliant at everything that you do. So it was limited time frame for rehearsals because I was overseas and I was doing a tour to OROC. So I think Arana Dance Centre and Zoe Sweeney in particular did a fantastic job because they worked out, they choreographed the dance, they had their girls dance and learn that dance, and then I came back and I did my first rehearsal with them on Wednesday and we did the dance on Friday, so limited time frame. But again, it's all part of the fun, it's all part charity. And I got scores of 8. They had 3 judges and 1 judge was kept secret, so no one knew the final results, and the 2 were shown. So I got 2 scores of 8, and they were generous scorers from the judges, so I was happy with
We're
2 scores
talking
of
out
8.
of 10 here, right?
I
Not
hope
20
so.
or 100 or...
I did convince some of the dancers I was talking to, some of the young girls from one of the other studios. I said, because I'm the mayor,
Yeah.
they score 1 out of 20. And they go, that's not fair. I went, no, I'm only joking. Mine's out of 10 as well. But yeah, 8 out of 10. But again, they were generous scorers. But I didn't win. And again, it wasn't all about that. But just the fundraising from the individuals on the night obviously contributed to that $65,000. But the other dancers, some of those were absolutely brilliant and very entertaining.
Yeah, good job, good job. Is there an overall winner?
They certainly have individuals who they win, the people who win on the dancing. So there were 2 people that gave joint first places there. So a guy that was going by the name of Froggy, and Sheridan were the 2 winners on the night. And they were the winners of the dancing on the dance time. But then they had the best fundraiser and the People's Choice. So there were a range of different awards there, but everyone got a trophy, Brett, so I got a trophy as well.
Well,
So
that's good. But this is not your first time, is it?
2009 I did it. And
So
there was-
you shouldn't be using the excuses. You should remember how to dance from 2009.
Well, actually, 2009 was very different. It was a ballroom dancing concept, and that I actually really enjoyed that because,
Okay.
again, I don't dance at all.
Yeah.
But on that one, they gave me to a studio where they basically had one other person, Jackie was her name, who was very good, and I just had to learn a few basic moves in between her doing wonderful stuff. So that was I think back then when it started, it was a very serious ballroom dancing concept, and the dancing was a very high caliber because you had people that were very good at it, as in my partner.
So what are you saying? Backup dancing for Taylor Swift, what you might have done this week was no good?
Well, no, it was different. So I think what they did
I don't
after
know what
those,
you've done. I haven't seen it.
so what they did after those ones that were
Yeah.
very serious ballroom dancing, I think they then relaxed them. And I've been to ones, I've actually been a judge on it before, and I've been to other ones just as an audience member. And it's certainly gotten to the stage where it's very much more expression dancing. So you do whatever you like. So the guy that won, for example, ended up on stage with just his jocks on. So that wouldn't happen in ballroom dancing. Sheridan did a very clever routine with the curtains. I'm not sure what the proper name for it, but when you see people at a circus act, for example, have curtains and they do a range of tricks with those. She did that, very clever, very difficult. Like the level of difficulty that was through the roof. So
Okay.
there were a variety of different ones there, and I think that's great because then it just makes it more entertaining. Not saying that ballroom dancing is entertaining, but for some people that becomes the same dance with a number of different people throughout the night. Whereas this had variety.
I'm glad you kept it clean. You kept your jocks and
kept
your
my clothes on.
Right, that's good. All right. Because I can think, you ride bikes and you have that lycra stuff. But no more.
I did ride my bike on stage as well, so that was part of my routine.
Well, good on you for helping to raise some funds. And as you said, that's collectively $65,000, is it?
Yeah, $65,000.
Wow, that's amazing. Good on you,
For
all
a
of you.
one-night event. Having said that,
Yeah.
a one-night event that obviously takes a long time to organise,
Yep.
which any event does. So, yeah, fantastic result.
No, that's great. Let's move on quickly. Dubbo's Macquarie Rivershed Pathway, the official opening occurred on the weekend. Of course, there's been some huge events across the state that, we were all watching there on the weekend, especially Bondi Junction. But this is good news for Dubbo. It's that was on Saturday, and then, that event happened, as we know, on Saturday. So I think it was a little bit overshadowed, sadly. But tell me about the project, because this has been about since the former council, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a long time. So we actually did the opening on Friday. So when I left your studio last week, went around and did the opening there, official opening of that. So $3.23 million for that particular project. $3 million of that came from the state government, and we put in the extra 230,000. I'm happy with that equation every day of the week, Brett. I'm happy to take those sort of ratios in terms of getting funding from government departments. So you're right, that does go back probably 4 years ago, maybe even longer than that. It certainly went back to the last council where that funding was approved. And the original vision that the council had was for a boardwalk out across the river. But to build a boardwalk where you've got an area that floods and has a high speed flood, as in the water flows at a very high rate in that flooding, the engineering to build a boardwalk there would have just been incredibly expensive. It would have been, there was no way the funding that was available from the state government would have paid for that, and there was no way council could pay for that. So it got scaled back, and it ended up with our shared pathway, 330 metres of shared pathway there, but 4 viewing areas, 4 viewing platforms along the way there. The main one is a cantilevered one that goes out, so it sits out across the actual riverbank, so you're kind of going out floating above that, and not floating, you're on a platform, but that's floating above that, and that's a great viewing platform. Already I've seen people out there having a coffee with people, I've seen people eating lunch on those platforms, and then there's also a stepped terrace, and that's a bit of a nod to the past. Back in the 1930s and before that, there was a step terrace cut into the riverbank because we didn't have a swimming pool. So if you wanted to swim, and obviously it still got hot back in the 1930s and before that, then you went down to the river, but you needed somewhere to sit. For example, parents might sit there and watch their kids. And there's this wonderful article from a newspaper of the day that was highly critical of council of the day for putting in an Olympic-sized swimming pool because we had a perfectly good river. Why would council waste their money on a swimming pool when we've got a river that everyone can swim in? So that was a nod to what happened back in those days. You wanted to swim and relax and cool down, you went down there. So that's stage 1, Brett, that's done now. You can see that boardwalk down there. Stage 2 will be the staging area there, and already we're at the stage of the final plans of that. We'll go to tender for that shortly. I think we'll have that staging area done probably by the mid next year. Maybe even a little bit earlier than that, but again, that's where you'll really see that whole area take off because you've got a natural amphitheatre there, just a slight amphitheatre area there. So you've got that natural bank, and that's where a staging area will be built. And then when you've got events on, that's when you can have people there. It might be bands, it might be various events that are organised on that staging area there with all the crowd around that area. But even during the week, we had Aussie FMX here, probably 1,500 spectators were down there for that. It was a motocross freestyle show, but also the 3 guys that do that give a bit of a talk to the kids during in between the tricks that they do to talk about setting goals and what they can do from a youth perspective. So I actually was pretty impressed with them. It just grabs people's attention. When you start to do backflips on a motorbike, people go, wow, let's look at that. And then when you stop and start talking to people, people are pretty focused on listening to you.
I guess part of the issue now is that those critics before that were, talking about the Olympic pool probably couldn't have foreseen how dirty the river can be when people don't clean up after themselves. I know we've had floods and some of that would come down the river, but is that an issue moving forward? Because it seems to be that, every second month we're cleaning up the river, if not every month.
I don't know if it's really about that. I'm sure it was still brown back in the 1930s, but I think it's just interesting how community standards change. Can you imagine, Brett, if we went out now and said, the pool costs us money, and it does. There's certainly a cost to run the pool in Dubbo and Wellington and Geary. If we said, well, Dubbo and Wellington, they've got great access to rivers just near where the swimming pool is, so we're going to shut those down to save some money and everyone can just go back and swim in the river. I don't imagine that people would be overly excited about that concept there. So it's interesting. Just I think how community standards change and community expectations change as well.
All right, quickly, we're not here next Thursday or Friday, Anzac Day on Thursday. You've got a council meeting on Wednesday, you were telling me off air, but you're holding this one at Wellington.
So we have to basically change. We couldn't do, I don't think, morally, we could do a council meeting on Thursday, which is our normal meeting night, so we have changed that to Wednesday. But we also do regular meetings in Wellington because we think they're a large town in our LGA. It's only fair and reasonable they still get to have council meetings in their LGA. And some people like to come along physically and be at a council meeting, so we think that's fair. So it was due for another one. Again, we do them on a regular basis in Wellington, so we're basically doing that one down there. But also we're doing a refurb on our, if you remember, we moved our council chamber downstairs so to make it more accessible, and they're doing some work down there anyway, so it was a convenient time to have it in Wellington. So anyone in Wellington that you want to come along and look at the council meetings in the old council chamber, the council chamber that used to be there when it was Wellington Shire Council, and that's that meeting we'll have there. And again, you've got video streaming still, so you can still watch it online. That seems to be the more popular way. We don't get as many people turn up physically anymore. They watch it, but I think it's nice to actually get down there in Wellington. And it's good to see what's in Wellington. There was the reject shop that was opened up there the other day. Things are happening in Wellington at the moment.
What time?
What time? 5:30 p.m, same time as normal.
Okay, that's excellent. Nice to catch up with you. We'll have to catch up next week early if we're going to.
Sure.
All right, Dubbo Region Mayor Matt... Turn my mic down. That's your mic. Thank you. Matt Dickerson here at ZDU. 8 o'clock news update next.